Sim Update 15 will be the last sim update for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 this year. There is going to be a future sim update. This will be coming in early 2025. And the reason for that is that Microsoft want their teams focused for future content. I guess mostly for the 2024 edition, but 2020 is going to get some additional content as well. Now, Sim Update 15 is set to release on the 7th of May. That's another very slight delay from the end of April, but understandable because this is going to be a massive update. It's got over 280 fixes, changes and improvements, as well as some additional content. Now, I've spoken about some of the specifics of this in a previous video, so we won't go over all that again. There are a few new pieces of information though. One in particular is a new memory system for PC users, and this will hopefully reduce stutters, especially on long flights and final approaches, and this is something that has been going on for a very long time. So this new memory system will include accurate memory allocation counters and improved performance with numerous add-ons installed. So even if you're the type of simmer, a bit like me, who loves to add a load of extra content into the sim, this new memory allocation system should help and go a long way to improve some of that stability. Now, remaining on the subject of memory and I guess stability as well, we'll know that the Xbox Series S especially has had a lot of problems over the years when it comes to Microsoft Flight Simulator. It does run the sim, but not always perfect. Well, some good news here. Microsoft, the Xbox team, have managed to figure out a way of obtaining an additional 570 megabytes of memory allocation for Microsoft Flight Simulator. So more than half a gigabyte of extra RAM, and that is a very, very big deal indeed, and should go a long way to really improving both performance and stability on the Xbox Series S. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that one actually works out when the Sim Update 15 drops. The new update would also include some changes for helicopters, and this is for the helicopter flight model, particularly, or specifically rather, with the ground friction adjustment. And this will make helicopters more lively and responsive with realistic vibrations and handling. We have seen some video clips of this in the past, and that is something that's going to be coming with the latest update, along with some live traffic improvements. And this is something that's been quite a long time in the works. It seems to be an iterative process. So to achieve this, Microsoft are going to utilize more live traffic lanes. They also say, of interest here, they're going to be improving livery matching, which will be based on the regions. So planes in specific regions should match the livery for the region they're in. Additionally, the G3X Touch is going to get an overhaul. This is the MFD and the in-plane system that a lot of planes have. It's getting a complete revamp, and this is being done by Working Titled. And it will include features like standing rate pointers, closest airport information, nearest airport bearing pointers, lean assist, which will be very useful, along with a fuel calculator, airport information window, VFR approach procedures, and much more. In other words, the G3X is getting a massive overhaul, along the lines of what we've seen previously with the Garmin systems. All of that, again, is coming in at Sim Update 15. Now moving on, we come to future plans, and this is a bit of a look at Flight Simulator 2024. Unfortunately, Microsoft aren't ready to reveal all the big details about this just yet, but we do have some smaller details, and this is some confirmation of two of the planes. One is going to be the Airbus A400M, and the other is the Beluga aircraft. This is, well, a massive plane indeed. Both of these are going to be developed by AnyBuilds, who have extensive experience with delivering planes to Microsoft Flight Simulator and have actually released some very, very good planes in the past. Now, also coming to Flight Sim 2024 will be a revamped marketplace, and there's no specifics again on exactly what this means, but Microsoft have said that they feel that the current marketplace is a little bit too simple, a little bit too plain, and that the new version is going to have some expanded features, so that should make it far easier to use. So that's the latest information on the 2024 edition of the Sim, and Microsoft say more information will be revealed over the coming months. Now focusing back on Flight Sim 2020, they say development on this is going to continue. There'll be more world updates, city updates, and potential future sim updates as well. For example, we already know that Sim Update 16 is coming in early 2025. There's also going to be new aerial imagery, AI, and airports that are going to be added. Aerial image in particular, maybe airports as well, are all things that are going to be updated for Flight Sim 2024. and Microsoft have made it very clear that any updates of that nature will also be backported to Flight Sim 2020. So work that goes into the new edition of the sim will benefit the older version of the sim, and it seems they are going to continue running both of these side by side. Although I do get the impression that in terms of sim updates at least, they will slow down a little bit for the 2020 edition. But it's by no means the end of the line for that version of the sim. Now moving on, we come to City Update 7. This is going to be called European Cities 2. It launches on the 28th of May and will feature new photogrammetry and points of interest for Barcelona, Madrid, Nice, Monte Carlo, Porto and Rotterdam. They say Stockholm is also included, but currently that city is under development. It looks like the others are complete at this point. Additionally, there's the subject of London. Now this was updated years ago at this point, and we all know it was somewhat apocalyptic. It wasn't a particularly good update. Microsoft have said they're not happy with the state of London and they are going to re-release it and rework it at some point. We haven't heard much about it since them last saying that, and the latest is that London is currently in processing. So that sounds as though work on it is coming along nicely. It won't quite make City Update 7 by the sounds of it, but hopefully won't be too much further. Then we come to the subject of world updates, and one that people have been asking for a while is Hawaii. And this is, interestingly, something that Microsoft were working on for a while. Now, I didn't realise this, some of you may have realised it, but to get some of the new aerial photogrammetry and the aerial photography and the various different data points for respective areas for world updates, Microsoft send out pilots. They hire pilots to go and gather that data for them. Now, Jörg Newman, head of Microsoft Flight Sim, has said that the pilot they hired for the Hawaii update was somewhat flaky because he started the trip, he started gathering the data and then didn't complete it. So the reason there's not been a Hawaii world update is because the pilot simply didn't complete the job. This is something that's going to be revisited. They're hiring a new pilot and one much better this time that should complete the work. Elsewhere, a pretty big subject over the past few months since the previous world update has been the shallow water. That is the coral water. Now, you may have noticed many areas the coral water has simply disappeared, and the reason for this is that it looks so bad that Microsoft simply removed it. They have since brought back certain areas, but they say this is going to be an ongoing project. They do want to improve it, and we can see some examples on the screen right here. This actually looks very, very good indeed, at least in my opinion. Now, Microsoft want to keep on updating the shallow water around the world, but they say this is a very long-term project, and it's going to take a lot of time to get everywhere done. And this is actually a lot longer than I would have expected. They say the work involves hand editing and harmonizing textures, and they're going to start with the Turks and Caicos, and they're going to expand into other regions. This work, all of it, is going to take approximately 2 years to complete, so this is a massive commitment, but it also shows and confirms that Microsoft are committed to Flight Sim long term. Now, in other news, we come to one of the previous expansions, Top Gun Maverick. Now, Microsoft have said that they're going to be removing this from the marketplace on May the 25th. From that point onwards, it won't be downloadable anymore. So if you haven't downloaded it already, do make sure to go and download it, and that way you'll be able to retain access. Anyone who's downloaded it in the past would have it attached to their account, meaning they will be able to continue to download it into the future. The reason for all this is licensing limitations. Basically, Top Gun Maverick was licensed for a limited period of time. So whilst people who already own it, who already have access to it, will be able to continue to download it, anyone who wants to download it for the first time after the 25th of May will not be able to do so. It's going to be removed from the marketplace. So a bit of a shame to hear that, but at least I guess it's still going to be available for those who currently have it. Another interesting piece of information is the possibility of an offline mode. And as we know, Microsoft Flight Simulator, even when you kind of switch it offline and you don't use photogrammetry data and all the rest of it, still requires an online connection. Now, Microsoft have said that they're looking at an offline mode. Work on this is underway, or at least experimentation on it is underway. But ultimately, Jörg Newman said even though he is head of Microsoft Flight Simulator, it's not his decision as to whether or not this can be implemented. He needs to basically convince people ahead that are above him. It needs to be signed off by people much higher up in Microsoft. So whether or not this actually happens is up in the air, but it's something they're certainly looking into. So there we have it. That brings us to an end of all the latest information on Microsoft Flight Simulator. Thanks for watching this video all the way to the end. And if you're still here, why not check out one of the other videos on the screen right here. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.